Hey guys, so here is the Sparkle Minnow. Personally, this has been one of my favorite smallmouth flies in the last couple years. It's just a great minnow pattern, bait fish pattern in a lot of situations, but it also makes a great trout fly. We just got in some new brushes. These are the Montana Fly Sparkle Minnow brush. Makes it super easy to wrap this fly and do the body. Comes in a lot of different colors. Standard 4X long streamer hook and some gold beads to match on this fly. So I'm going to start with a little bit of lead wire. This is 0.25 as you can see right there. Doesn't take a whole lot. I'm going to go about a little over a dozen or so turns, break it off, and then we're going to push that right up into the bead. Make it nice and smooth, and I'm using white Danville's flat wax, but you can use really any streamer thread you like using. We're tying the pearl color here so that white matches well. Coming in here, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap back on the shank, get it coated super well, making a thread dam behind the wire so it doesn't slide back, and then I'm going to go ahead and coat that. As I coat the wire, I'm making sure that I fill in all those gaps so that when I come through with my brush or thread in the future, I'm not going to get it caught. So I've got that wire wrapped down, got my thread back just behind the point. Now I'm going to come in with my tail, and we're just using some standard woolly bugger marabou. Found myself a good feather. I'm going to go about the length of that hook there, maybe just a tad longer. Measure it out, and I'm going to wrap that excess feather all the way back to the wire. Clip it free, and this is just going to give me a good balanced, even body all the way across for when we wrap our brush along it. So right there we've got the tail end, got the body. I'm going to take a little bit of Flashabou accent and pearl, and what I'm going to do, this is a cool little trick for using this kind of flash. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go ahead and grab just like 4 or 5 strands, not too much, just enough. And what I can do is when I come up to my thread here, I'm going to fold the flash in half essentially, pull my thread down tight, and then just do like a wrap or two to hold it in place. And then I can come in here, spread that flash out on either side the way I want it, or on top of the fly if you want it, and tighten it down. And that way right there I've added a bunch of strands of flash at once. I'm going to come in here, clip them just a little bit shorter than the tail, make sure they lay where I want them to, tighten them down. Quick way to add in a little bit of flash. And now we're going to come in with our brush. So as you can see, when you pull these brushes out of the package, they've got a little bit of direction to them. So you want to make sure that as you're tying it in, those materials are moving back towards the back of the fly. So I'm going to come in here, pull just a little bit of flash out of the tip and tie it in. So these brushes have a wire core. That's what I'm tying in right there, which makes them really easy to take like a flash material or something like that and hold it in place, and being able to palmer it forward instead of doing like a bunch of dubbing loops. So as you can see, I come in here, whenever you're working with brush, it helps a lot if you can just pull your materials out of the way. And I'm just going to start making wraps. But as I wrap forward with my other hand, I'm going to come through here and pull back the flash every time I make a wrap, just to make sure that I get good, even wraps and not too much of that material is getting trapped under the fly. We're going to come back through with a bodkin and pick a lot of this out too, so you don't have to be super meticulous. And you don't have to wrap it super tight, not quite one after another. I'm leaving just a little bit of space in between each wrap, and as long as you pull those fibers back as you make forward wraps, you're going to get good coverage with that flash. So I'm working back every now and then, just from holding onto the brush, you're going to take that flash and kind of mat it down. So I'll go through, fluff it up periodically, and we're just going to keep working our way all the way to the front. And after you mess with a couple of these, you can get a sense for how dense you want your body to be, and you might decide that you want to take a lot fewer wraps, or if you want to wrap them really tight and get a super dense body, you just do that by how tight you make these wraps. So I'm going to keep going all the way to the front. And I'm going to go pretty tight to the collar, just so it looks good. Tie in a couple wraps behind that brush, and then a couple in front. Come in with a pair of scissors that you're not going to ruin, clipping wire, pull all that material back, get a good collar, make sure I got everything trapped in. Then I'm going to come through there with a whip finish. A couple just to be safe. I caught that eye a little bit, so I'll go in and clean that up. So there we have the body of the fly. You can see that it's super matted down. It's kind of splayed all over the place. One key with brushes, if you come back with a bodkin or a little needle or something, and I'm just going to spin the fly and pull all those trapped fibers out. So whenever you went on a wrap and you wrapped on top of the flash and the fibers, this is helping pull that out. You'll notice that you're losing some flash as you do this, but I promise you it helps more than it hurts. Got a pretty crazy looking fly there. These are really long fibers on this brush, and so depending on the size of the hook that you're tying, you're going to want to come in here and trim it back, just so that it doesn't take over the whole fly. So I got a long pair of scissors coming through and taking some pretty big slashes at this stuff. Not super uniform, because I still want it to have a little bit of natural random taper. And then right by the tail, I'm going to actually trim pretty tight so those back fibers don't lay back longer than my tail. I'm going to pull that out of the vise too, to make a few of those cuts. Spinning the fly, come through there. Once I feel like I've got what I want trimmed in, you can take that back, check our tail, check our body material, and there it is. A great fly for smallmouth, trout, whatever it is. Very flashy, so it does a great job at imitating a minnow, reflecting sunlight, and the fish love it.